Talking with the experts.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts, where we believe that success is a journey, and every journey is easier with help from friends. That's why we bring you top-notch experts and real business heroes eager to share their lessons from the road to success. We delve into new topics each week: effective marketing strategies, innovative problem-solving, financial planning, and team building. We tackle everything you need to know to grow your business and keep it thriving. Whether you dream about launching your first startup or are a business veteran looking to shake things up, we've got you covered. With each episode, you'll gain knowledge, boost your confidence, and be inspired to take action. So, grab a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and join our exciting journey. You're not alone in this. We're here, guiding you, cheering for you, and celebrating each milestone. Let's turn your business dreams into reality, starting today. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Talking with the experts.
Maximising business value, some tips and strategies for business owners from Zoran Sarabaca in episode 482.
So it's a kind of the interest of the seller and the buyer are not aligned, and you pricing in your 10, 20, 15, 5 years, whatever, it doesn't matter how long you've been in business. Well, the buyer is looking at this as a purely financial transaction. However, once when that buyer buys the business and he a few years later decides to sell, he thinks exactly the way you were thinking. I don't know why, but that seems to be what's happening. So the whole thing is very emotional. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with $20 million business or you're dealing with $100,000 business. The emotions are exactly the same. It doesn't change as the businesses become more bigger and more sophisticated. The human nature stays the same. There's a joke.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is all about business by business owners for business owners. You can find it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. And today my guest is Zoran Sarabaca, and Zoran is going to be discussing with us how we can maximise our business value, and he's going to be sharing some tips and strategies for us all as business owners. Zoran has he started Xcllusive, which is his company or business, in 2004 after not having much success with brokers while trying to sell his own business, and decided to form an exceptional team to provide a better service in the business broking industry. Xcllusive now has a team of 30 associates across Australia. The main focus of the business is assisting business owners with the sale of their businesses and helping them throughout the process to ensure a successful exit. Well done. Thank you for joining me, Zoran.
Hello, Rose. That was a real nice introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't write it. You did, or someone did.
I wouldn't have said it better myself.
Tell me, how did you get into doing what you're doing? And business broking is a different type of industry that a lot of us don't know about.
It is. I didn't know much about business broking. Actually, first time when somebody asked me something about the value of the business was I had a business coach. There was probably, I'd say about 20 plus years ago, maybe 25, 23. And, business coaches do what business coaches do, and highly recommended to everybody. We were talking, he said, look, you got to visualize yourself in 5 years, what you're going to do 10 years as we do, in 3 years. And, what kind of business you're going to have, how's they going to look like. And one of the questions he said, what's your business value going to be then? And that's the first time that I was exposed to something that, well, actually, yeah, business has a value. Because a lot of us go into the business and never think about actually building until later in business life about the value of the business. You get into the business and you're never thinking of anything like selling at the beginning. That's something you do. So that's the first time that I was exposed to the concept of value in the business. And then when I had to sell. When I needed to sell, somehow somebody told me that these business brokers exist, and I made some phone calls and called a few of them, and I wasn't happy with the way it was going, and then I ended up selling it myself. Now, that's not an unusual way for people to get into business broking industry, to sell their business, and they say, "Hey, I can do this myself." And it actually does make a sense, because you really need to understand the business very well. You need to understand business owners very well. And if you were in the business in the past and you were business owners in the past, well, you're already halfway there to be a good business broker. And when I started, now almost 20 years ago, I thought that, I was doing some groundbreaking, revolutionizing, can't even pronounce it, things. And it was a little bit different, but, since then, a system evolved and the business evolved and everything evolved. It's actually, looking back to what I was doing 20 years ago, it sounds a bit funny, but like it wasn't that good. All right. Sorry, those of you that I sold the business 20 years ago. Well, we could have, the whole process could have been better. And over time we developed that. And yeah, that's how I got into it.
Okay. So, as a business broker, you need to understand what the key drivers are to the business itself.
Yep.
And so how do you value a business? What makes it valuable for someone else to buy?
Okay, I actually, we got our podcast series as well, and we were talking. We actually had a podcast episode today talking about that subject in particular. What a coincidence! All right, so something. Often you're going to go to your accountant or anybody that's involved in some sort of financial activity, financial plan. A lot of people do value businesses. And they're going to look at, okay, give me some of your financials. They're going to look at these P&Ls and balance sheets and whatnot, and they're going to tell you the value. But that's, in my opinion, that's a small part. Mm-hmm. Yes, profitability plays a factor, obviously, because that's why you buy a business. But the non-financial parts of the business are way more important than the financial parts of the business. So what gives a business, any business, value is ability to generate income after the change of the ownership. So, well, in your business, you can do very well what you're doing. You got to ask yourself, how hard is this for me to pass on to these other people, to somebody else, to carry on running it as profitably as I'm doing? And that's what gives a business value. Mm. So two things. One is profitability, and the other one is ability to pass that profitability to someone else.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So what gives, and that's a good way to think about it. So what gives business value is how easy that business can be detached from the owner and continue without interruptions. That's in very, very high level terms. And then you can dig this much, much deeper, but that's a good way to think.
Mm. Yeah, we had a small retail business up in Queensland some years ago, and we decided that we needed to get out after 10 years. And, that business broker that we dealt with only was looking at the P&L. He wasn't looking at anything else, like the value to us as the business and how profitable or how busy the business was. He wasn't looking at those other factors. And so we decided not to do it. We just walked away from it instead, because he wasn't going to sell it for what we believed it was worth.
Okay, so that's what you believe. It's not what you believe or what I believe. It's what the buyer believes. So there's that's the common issue on the market there. That as the owner, as the outgoing owner, you don't only price what this business profit that generates. You don't only use your generation of the profits as a value of the business, but you're looking all the history and everything that you've done with the business and what you put in it. Well, the buyer thinks about it a little bit different. Buyer thinks, okay, well, I'm about to give you real money, and what am I going to get in return for that cash that I'm going to give you? So it's a kind of the interest of the seller and the buyer are not aligned, and you pricing in your 10, 20, 15, 5 years, whatever, it doesn't matter how long you've been in business. Well, the buyer is looking at this as a purely financial transaction. However, once when that buyer buys the business and he a few years later decides to sell, he thinks exactly the way you were thinking. I don't know why, but that seems to be what's happening. So the whole thing is very emotional. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with, $20 million business or you're dealing with $100,000 business. The emotions are exactly the same. Like it doesn't change as the businesses become more bigger and more sophisticated. The human nature stays the same. There's a joke in our industry. The fastest way to value the business is to ask the owner what he thinks it's worth, and then half it. And it's about right,
Yeah, but that is a very valid point, because it is very emotional when you're selling your business, especially after you've spent so long in it, and you've built up the clientele, and that the business is worth. You bought it for so much, you've built up the clientele, so it should be worth, more than that, more than what, but the business broker said that it was, but, there were other factors involved as well. So, maybe he was on the right track, but you're right. Emotions do play a great part in as the business owner who's trying to sell their business. So how can, I guess, a business broker get over those emotional hurdles?
Very hard. I don't know. We're struggling with that all the time. It's a really good question. Look, you do need to understand person on the other side, and you really need to understand. The better question is, it's the same, but you got to look at it from the other angle. How does the owner know that whoever business broker or accountant or whoever is giving them right advice on the value? Because I can almost guarantee if you go and see 5 people, they're going to give you 5 different values. Now, how do you know which way to go? So what happens a lot on the market, you say, well, this guy's talking 500 and this guy's talking $1 million. So I'm going to go for the $1 million one. What can go wrong? I'm not going to sell it. Well, it's dangerous, because what happens is you put a business on the market, business becomes a stale, because if you're buying a house, renting a house, buying an office, renting an office, any major investment, once when you're really ready to purchase, you look at every ad, every opportunity. You're the first person there. So the first buyers always come first. Why? Because you already missed out on 2 deals, but now it's been a certain period of time and you're desperate to buy something. So the best buyers come first. So what happens if I come and see your business for $1 million, but it's worth 500? I'm not even going to put the offer, because we're so far apart that I just can't bring myself to say, look, what you're asking is way too much. And because I'm expecting really bad reaction to it. Well, so I just going to walk away. Or I think, well, you're not really serious about selling, so what's the point even talking or even trying? So what happens? That business stays on the market for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. So let's say it doesn't sell, and let's say you drop the price now to market price, and the same buyer comes again. First thing they're going to think, oh, lucky I didn't buy this. Obviously, something's wrong with that. Still on the market 18 months later. But there was nothing wrong. It was just overpriced. So that's why going for the highest price, it could be, maybe the highest price is a real accurate price. But just thinking, well, should I go for this? Maybe, unless there are other factors that pointing out that it actually makes sense. So you got to test every value that was given to you. So one way of thinking is, okay, let me look at this business, and let's say it's not my business, all right? And knowing what I know now about this business, everything that's involved in running it, how much money it's making me, all the good, bad, and ugly about it, would I pay this price? And if the answer is no, I would look at for the better opportunity. Well, that's not the right price. The answer has to be not, oh yeah, absolutely right away, this is bargain. It has to be something, yes, but I would really investigate this further, and that's the right price. So it has to make sense. Now, another way to decide what the good price is. If anybody's valuing a business for you, look for the evidence, look for the explanation. If somebody says it's 3 times profit, 4 times profit, whatever it is, ask why. Ask for the evidence of that. Do we have any historical evidence that this type of businesses are selling for this sort of money? And if they don't, well, can you really rely on that advice? Common thing is, and I tested this many times, like when you're talking to the accountant and the accountant says, oh, look, I think my client's business is worth X, all right? And you ask them, well, if your client is not selling this business, but it's buying, would you still value it the same? and see what they say. And normally they say, no, it would be different. So it also depends. You got to think, who's the advisor that's giving you advice and where on the fence are they sitting at? Because the advisor's managing you and they're managing their risk and they also want to get paid. So your accountant is biased one way because he wants the best thing for you, but doesn't understand what happens on the market. Problem with the brokers, on the other hand, is how do I know that broker is not just telling me good price in order to engage me, and then he's going to work on me? Because it happens on the market. It happens a lot. And so where is that advisor that I can 100% trust? And the answer is, well, unless you really know them well and you dealt with them and you can actually trust them, the answer is don't look at who's giving you advice, but look at the evidence on the advice. Don't just look at the number, look at for the explanation, how they arrived, and test it yourself with that little question, would I pay this for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. That's, sometimes like you take the best price and you're right. As the vendor, you would want to be able to get the best possible price for your business. So you would take the higher one. But yeah, the person that you're dealing with might not be as honest as the day is long. And, looking for because the more you sell the business for, the bigger their commission. So,
and also their market pressures. He's thinking, well, you're talking to other people and maybe I should give you a higher price because maybe that's going to entice you to go with me. Like, it happens in real estate, it happens in whatever you're selling is a big ticket items. So it's not easy. So
no.
Look at the evidence. Look, to this day, we're normally on the lower side of expectations in the market, what we're telling people that the value of the business is. And sometimes people don't come to us because they don't think that's what they want. And look, I don't have a problem if they said, look, if that's all I've got, if that's the value of my business, well, whatever reason is that I'm selling a business and I need more money and I can't sell it for that, that's okay. Don't sell it. Do plan B, plan C, whatever you need to do it. And like, sometimes to me that's a good result. If one of my people or my team or myself sit with the client and we tell them what the value is and the client says, look, that doesn't actually work for us, we're going to have to try. To me, that's a really good result. At least they got a good advice and they can make informed, realistic decision. What really pains me is when, they were sold this idea that their business is worth more, and the only driving force behind it was to actually engage and make some money in the process and hope that they're going to drop down the price to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And as you said, you've got to weigh up all the pros and cons and get good advice and don't just take the first.
And remove yourself emotionally from it as well.
Yeah, that's often the hard part, isn't it? Is to remove yourself emotionally.
It is hardest. I mean, like I remember, it was early days, and I didn't know how to be tactful about this, and I remember a lady came to me and looked. It was a small business, and to protect innocent and guilty ones, I won't tell you what the business was or too much details, but I remember calling her and I said, look, I've valued your price. I valued your business. I would like to sit down with you and talk about it. And she said, look, I'm just interested in price. And I said, well, look, I really got to explain how I arrived to this. And she said, no, just tell me the price. And it was 75,000. So I remember it was 75. It was probably more than 15 years ago. And I said 75,000. And she said, I beg your pardon. She said, just hold on. So she pulled over and she said, switched off the car. And she said, can you say this again? I said, 75,000. And she said, you're telling me that 15 years of my life, it's worth 75,000. I was like, no, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you your business is worth 75,000. I'm sure you had some good, adventures and good times in the last 15 years. But that your life's got nothing to do with your business. But to her, it does. It did. Like, you spend 15 years building something for one reason or the other. There is no value. Well, you had friends that went and joined the bank as a teller and then bought one house and then bought another house. And now they're about to retire and you got 75,000. It's a shock for the system sometimes,
Yeah, that's how we felt. I think that's where we went wrong, is just, just too much emotion in it. And
but it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that. Look, I can tell you many stories when we saw people and told them what the value is, and they said, "Okay, all right. Look, we understand, and we understand now what actual value drivers in the business is." And then they've come back to us 3 or 4 or 5 years later, and they got much better business, much solid business. And what happens, because they understand now what drives the business, and they really go and find the help to build the business better. Coaches, advisors, there's a lot of help you can get out there. Not only did they had 5 years later, they had a much better business, but often through the process, they made more money because the business has improved. I can tell you also on the other side, sometimes people take this advice and they make such a good business that now they don't want to sell it. And that's also good, all right? Because the reason why they wanted to sell the business because of burnout. I'm working hard, I'm not making that much. And now I'm working much less, and I'm making more money. So the business is valuable. Well, I'm not selling it now.
Yeah, it's there's two sides to every of the story, really. And you're right, that was a really good analogy about taking the emotion out of it. But it can be difficult when that lady put 15 years of her life into it, and you said it was only worth so much. And I thought, well, yeah, that's what they told us after 10 years. I thought, oh my God, I thought it'd be worth more. But yeah, right, it's an emotional decision, isn't it?
Let me ask you a question. After you exited the business, so you shut it down, yes? After you exited the business, how long it took you to get over the loss?
I would say 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And
And
it was quite hard for us. It's just,
did you get
we could have done and what we should have done, and it was all that in hindsight stuff. And and kicked our butts ourselves for.
But then again, it's not a life threatening decision.
Die
It's matter of life and death. Come on, it's money comes and goes. You move on. Look, sometimes even exiting a business, if you're not happy or you can't stay in it, it's better than staying in it just because you can't get a value. You move on.
Doing it, so we had to do something, and so we just walked away from it and just lost everything.
Like, we all got a certain amount of years. We don't know how many, but it's definitely finite. And just sometimes it's not all about money. Sometimes it's about moving on and getting on with the life, not just trying to get that value. And look, that's another thing that I see in business a lot, especially now with this COVID and what we're going through, and liquidations are going up and whatnot, that people are throwing good money after bad. So you got a business, and let's say it's worth a few $100,000, but that's not enough to get you out of that. So what people often try to do is they're already in cash flow problems, and they try to trade out of it. So what happens 12 months later, Today you had a $500,000 debt. 12 months later, you got $600,000 debt, and the value of the business is still 300,000.
Mhm.
So you actually haven't done anything. So good advice, right advice, talk to right people, and make the decision quickly, one way or the other. Problem with selling business is that once when you decide to exit the business and put it on the market, you often forget about running it and you stop improving it. So, investment is needed. Well, we're not going to do that because we're selling a business, and the business starts going backwards. So it has to be a serious decision. If you got accurate valuation of the business, and that value is not going to help you achieve what you need to achieve, don't put it on the market. Stay, keep on working on the business. Go to the plan B.
That's it. Absolutely. Great advice. Zoran, tell me a bit about your podcast.
Podcast is called Your Next Big Move, and we only talk about business sales there. So we really do the deep dive on business sales. We like some very specific. Some episodes are really interesting for people. They're like a business geeks. So we talk about working capital and how that influence business. We talk about work in progress, but some are general, very emotional like this. So I normally get people in industry and people that sold businesses and people that are really specializing in particular niche part of business sales, and then we have some really in-depth conversation. It's really good for anybody who's thinking of buying or selling a business. It's not your I'll go for the jog and I'm going to listen to this podcast type of thing. Don't do it. Even I don't do it, right? So
Well, there you go. So go and listen to Zoran's podcast, and you'll get a lot of insights if you want to sell or buy a business. Zoran, where can people find you if they want to work with you?
Look, it's Xcllusive Business Sales. It's spelled xcllusive.com.au. We're a national company. We're in every state and territory, in every capital city. Two things we do. We do business valuations and we do business sales. We do anything from pretty much $1. Sometimes we sell businesses for $1 because they're in trouble and liquidation, to about $20 million. That's our ceiling. That's a sales value. And we do all types of businesses. We got specialists in accounting and medical to your general stuff, import, export, manufacturing, service, everything.
Right.
I've got a question for you.
Yes.
This sponsored by Global Glamping.
Global Glamping Charities.
Yes. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Global Glamping Charities is based in Coffs Harbour in New South Wales. Their main priority is to help solve homelessness for people that have been through a natural disaster like a flood or a fire, people who have been affected by domestic violence, or people that through economic circumstances may be losing their home because they can't afford to pay their rent or their mortgage or whatever. So what they do is they find transportable homes and put them on properties, and then the person who's renting this transportable home pays a very minimal amount of rent to try and alleviate the problem of paying the high rents up in the open market. And I think they can rent these transportable homes for 6 to 12 months.
No, that's fantastic. So it just helps them just get through that hardship until they come back on their feet and off they go. Yeah. I was just looking at it and I just couldn't figure out what it is. That's a better ask.
I've only just been with them about 6 months. I'm their customer support person, and they helped me by helping me because I was almost economically homeless. So they've helped me through some tough times, and so I give my time to them and help them with their business.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I
Okay.
enjoy it. I love it. Yeah, Zoran, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for asking about the charity. I love talking about them because I think they do a wonderful thing. And I will be sure to put everything in the show notes so that people can find you and know what they need to be doing when they want to buy or sell a business.
Thank you very much for having me, Rose. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Bye for now. Hi, I'm Rose Davidson from Talking with the Experts. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Global Glamping Charities for their valued support. Global Glamping Charities, solving homelessness in all its forms. Reach out to them at globalglamping.org.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time. Talking with the Experts.